There's a big conversation going on involving new women's titles, so we'll see what that's about. We'll also check out a big reveal from Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and more. Starting things off with some intriguing comments from The Undertaker that has started up a fiery new discussion amongst the fans. While speaking on his 6 Feet Under show, The Undertaker had this to say about what he wants to see from the WWE Women's Division. Quote, "The women's division is really getting good. You got Jade, you got Rhea, you got Charlotte, you've got Bayley, you've got Naomi. It's deep. The division is deep. I would like to see a women's Intercontinental champion, and possibly, because there's 2 brands, a women's US champion. I don't think you need more than that. You don't need a TV champion." End quote. A mid-card WWE women's title has been something that fans have been talking about over the last few years. The men's division has 2 mid-card titles that are often used to elevate up the talent into that main event, such as with Gunther, who now has a bright future ahead of him following a historically great international title reign. So fans have been wondering if a mid-card women's title would be the perfect stepping stone for superstars in the women's division to make a name for themselves before going after the main women's titles. Maybe that would be smoother, because over the last few years in the women's division, #1 contenders for the main women's titles come out of nowhere sometimes, with no real build-up or journey. Someone that wasn't on television for months just pops back up and instantly becomes #1 contenders for a main women's title. That's just kind of the situation we've seen several times, and it just feels clunky and lacks that big journey narrative. So fans think that if there's a system in place where women could get a mid-card title, establish themselves, and then go after the main world titles, maybe it would connect more, since we've seen their long journey to get to that point. So it's been a big back and forth debate over the last few years for when it comes to the topic of women's mid-card titles. Fans that are against the idea claim that they probably wouldn't be enough time and the proper care towards those titles. This is a problem that the women's tag team titles have suffered ever since their creation. The women's tag team titles have constantly been around since 2019, but very rarely is there any actual important storylines behind those titles. And a majority of the time, there's not even more than 2 tag teams in the division, so it makes the titles and division seem a bit messy. So that's what fans are a bit fearful for when it comes to the idea of mid-card women's titles. Would a women's Intercontinental title and United States title get the proper care and treatment it deserves? That's what it basically all comes down to. But The Undertaker does have a good point for when it comes to the overall depth of the WWE women's division. Looking at the entire division, when fully healthy, it's pretty deep. You've got Bayley, Damage Control, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, Jade Cargill, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, returning superstars like Alexa Bliss, NXT call-ups that should be coming up soon, such as Roxanne Perez and others. So when you look at the bigger picture, yes, it's pretty insane to think that, excluding the tag team titles, all of those women only have 2 main world titles to go after on the main roster. So strictly looking at that depth, that roster definitely seems like it could benefit and make more opportunities from having secondary titles for the women. It's important to note that NXT is adding a North American women's title, so if they're doing it, it doesn't seem unrealistic to picture a mid-card women's title coming to the main roster as well. As long as time, effort, and proper care are put into those main roster mid-card titles, things should all go smoothly for them. But WWE definitely has the roster depth right now to pull off that if they so please. The first few weeks after Roman Reigns had become Universal Champion in 2020 was a bit confusing because it was unclear who his first feud would be against. WWE did actually start a feud for Roman versus Bray Wyatt back then, Bray Wyatt had introduced a Paul Heyman walrus puppet to his Firefly Funhouse cast, and that Funhouse episode was left on a cliffhanger with more to come from the Heyman puppet. Then there were other moments, such as Alexa Bliss, who would get possessed by the Fiend back then, having encounters and stare-downs with Roman Reigns, with the idea being that it wasn't really Alexa who was staring at Roman like that. It was the spirit of the Fiend who was giving Roman that dirty look for how Roman stole the title from him. So all signs pointed to Roman Reigns versus Bray Wyatt being the first feud of the Tribal Chief era. But after a few weeks of those teasers we just discussed, all traces and signs of that feud that were building up were suddenly dropped and discontinued. Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss were shifted over to Raw as a part of the draft that year, while Jey Uso won a match on Smackdown to become the first challenger for Roman Reigns. Well, Jey Uso recently spoke about everything that was going on back then during a recent interview with the Gorilla Position. Jey had this to say about the topic, quote, "At first, I think the first angle that Roman was supposed to have was with the Fiend, but I don't think the Fiend would have elevated the Tribal Chief the way it came through me. It was just leveling up every week. I definitely leveled up during the pandemic. In 2020, there was no one there. It was literally Paul Heyman, Triple H, me, and Roman Reigns. That's the most interaction I've ever had with them. It was more intimate than ever. Actually, we all leaned together on how to elevate each other. We ain't got no people here. Now we gotta bleed through these cameras." End quote. Fans were pretty bummed out that we never got to see that version of Roman Reigns against that version of Bray Wyatt one-on-one in a singles match. But what Jey said does make a lot of sense. Roman just taking care of business and handling the Fiend would have been expected and not really that deep. But his first feud with Jey turned out perfect in terms of setting the foundation and planting all those major seeds for what we were about to see over the next 4 years. So looking back at it, it was definitely the right call to go with Roman versus Jey. It was family versus family. It was personal. And it just showed how deep this new version of Roman was willing to go in order to protect his crown, even from his own family members. So Roman's title reign probably never picks up that much steam without that explosive and personal first feud with Jey to kick it off. And in other Uso-related news, Fightful is now reporting that there was bigger reasoning behind Solo and Tama's attack on Jimmy Uso. They claim that the attack was fully meant to write Jimmy Uso off of television, since he's now dealing with an undisclosed injury of some sorts. As of this current time, there's no exact details on what Jimmy's injury is, so it's hard to speculate on how much time he'll be away for, but it was something serious enough that he had to be written off. That's the only thing that's known right now. So Jimmy Uso may be gone for longer following this attack, but once he's cleared to come back, there'll be a lot of hype surrounding his return, especially if a reunion for the Usos will be happening shortly after his return to WWE. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.